The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
All these voices. All these voices. All these things you can't explain. All these painful memories. They keep haunting you and daunting me. It's just the ghost of you and me. It's just the smoke and gasoline. It's just the ghost of you and me. Of you and me.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I am doing pretty good. How is everybody tonight?
Tonight we have a very, very interesting show for you. We're going to be looking at this article that brings up this fascinating theory that aliens are actually human beings that are from the future and have been time traveling back. So that's going to be really, really cool. I'm excited to be back. We've been off for a few weeks. I got sick last week. I got to the point where my voice was pretty much just nothing but a creak, like a croak. It was terrible. So we're back now. I'm doing pretty good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you guys to my new AI named Nigel that I've been getting to do the paranormal news videos. And I'm going to have him read the article tonight so I don't stress my voice too much. And then we'll come back and we'll do commentary and everything like that. So Nigel.
Yes, James. How may I be of service?
Could you please read the article that I sent to you?
Of course. I would be pleased to help. Tonight's article comes from CuriousMoss.com. The headline is, "What if UFOs are time-traveling humans from the future?" This scientist thinks so. It was written by Vladislav Charkarov. It was published March 17, 2021. A scientist believes that the UFO sightings we experience could be time-traveling humans from the future that are interested in what the humans of the past were like. Humankind has been trying to find evidence of the existence of aliens for several centuries. But these attempts have so far been unsuccessful. There are assumptions that the American government is secretly conducting secret research on discovered aliens and their spacecraft. And this may be true. But it must be admitted that so far, all official searches for extraterrestrial life have ended in failure. What if UFOs are actually time-traveling humans from the future? According to Michael Masters, professor of biological anthropology at the Montana Technological University, the reason for the unsuccessful attempts to find aliens is that in fact, UFOs are not controlled by aliens from other planets, but by time-traveling humans from the future. The existence of UFOs is an indisputable fact for a large number of people. Many experts are convinced that at least some of the reports about flying objects of unidentified origin are true. But they cannot be explained using existing technologies. If unidentified objects do not come from other planets, and at the same time, they cannot be explained by the technologies existing in our world, perhaps they really appear from the future. In fact, this version is not that incredible. Masters' theory is based on a research approach, based on facts from anthropology, astronomy, astrobiology, and physics. Furthermore, there is the fact that science has a large amount of evidence of UFO sightings, while there is no evidence of the existence of aliens, with the exception of a few thought experiments. If people believe that the Egyptian pyramids were built by aliens, why not accept the fact that the aliens piloting UFOs are travelers from the future? In order to accept the possibility of time travel, a qualitative shift in our consciousness is required. But the possibility of the invention of a time machine still exists. Therefore, it is quite possible that the spacecraft of the future will be able to or already can travel in time. Masters also has a logical explanation for cases where aliens kidnap people, do various tests and medical experiments. According to a significant number of people abducted by aliens during their captivity in alien ships, their sense of time completely disappeared. Therefore, the scientist believes that the crews of UFOs are humans that are associated with time traveling. According to his version, people of the future will be interested in what the people of their past were like. He believes that the humans of the future are studying us, which is absolutely natural. After all, wouldn't you use the opportunity to speak to your ancestors, or an important historical figure from thousands of years ago, if you had the chance? Overall, Professor Masters believes that his theory is the most rational explanation about all the UFO sightings, and we should try to find simpler explanations than the complicated theories that get suggested again and again. You can read all about his approach on the subject in his book called Identified Flying Objects. And that is the end of the article.
All right, thank you very much, Nigel. I appreciate you.
You are very welcome, sir.
Now, this was a very, very interesting article and a very interesting theory. I love the idea that aliens could be humans from the future that are time traveling back. Now, in order to entertain this theory as a possible reality, we have to kind of just say that time travel exists, okay? Whether it actually ever will or not, who knows? Theoretically, it's possible, but I don't know when they'll get there. But the assumption is that eventually mankind will figure out how to time travel. So assuming that that is the case, if you really think about it and break it down, it is possible that aliens could be human beings from the future. First of all, they are a humanoid form. Okay, we're not dealing with octopus, we're not dealing with squid, we're not dealing with some weird bug person. They look pretty much like we do, just a little bit different. Their heads are a lot bigger. Now I'm talking about the gray aliens is what I'm talking about here, because that's the most common type of alien that is seen by people. That's the ones that are doing the abductions. Those are the aliens that most people say they see. So their heads are bigger than ours. Now, if we think about how mankind changes according to their environment, you have changes in skin color, the amount of melatonin in the skin, depending on how much sun you get and all that kind of stuff. If you look at some of our ancient ancestors, such as the Neanderthal, they were a lot more compact and muscular than we were because they lived in a much colder environment. So as mankind evolves, it would make sense that our heads would get bigger because we have to have more space inside the skull for a larger brain. The thing that differentiates us from the animal kingdom is our intelligence. The fact that we can problem solve and we can use tools and we can kind of think outside of the box in order to find solutions for complex problems. We can invent. We have creativity. We are artistic. All of those things come from a higher intelligence and a larger brain and using more of the brain than a lot of other animals do in relation to the size of our body, of course. Because, I mean, if you think about it, like a blue whale or something is going to have a pretty damn big brain because it's a gigantic animal. But in relation to the size of its body is what I'm saying. So it makes sense that our heads would necessarily get bigger if our brains get bigger because we need that extra space. Because inside your skull, you got your brain surrounded by fluid. And there's not a ton of room in there. So if your brain expands to get bigger and make you smarter, then you're going to need a bigger skull. So it makes sense that their heads could be big. A lot of people say that aliens don't speak, but they hear the words inside their head. So they're using some form of telepathy. Now that makes sense that if we are using more of our brain and we have a larger brain, that we're going to have new capabilities that might come with that. That's certainly plausible. So in that case, telepathy would tend to make sense. They travel using spacecraft. Now, these spacecraft aren't entirely alien. They're not something that we can't describe. It's not something we've never seen before. They look to be made out of some sort of metal of some type. Now, they can do things that we can't currently do. But if you think back just to the time of your grandparents when they were growing up, my grandfather was born in a time when there were no cars. They rode horses everywhere when he was a kid. And in his lifetime, he went from a life where he was riding a horse around and living on a farm to automobiles on every street, streets everywhere, interstates, man going to the moon, space travel, the internet, all of these amazing things. You can get on a plane and fly across the world now. None of that stuff existed when my grandfather was a child. So in the span of one human life, we saw mankind go from riding horses and living a farming type lifestyle to going through the industrial age and now being in the computer age to where you can be in contact with anybody around the world at any time. That's pretty phenomenal in one lifetime. So think if these humans that are time traveling, if they are from, let's say, 10 generations away, it's 10 lifetimes, what do you think the world will look like then? What kind of technology will they have? What if they're from 25 or 50 generations in the future? You could very well be looking at an entirely different planet that has technology that we can't even begin to even understand or fathom at all what they would be able to do. In my mind, that would explain the capabilities of the aircraft. They're obviously a much more advanced people than we are. We just had an article that I covered on Paranormal News where that Navy pilot that released the footage of the UFO, he gave an interview and he said that that UFO jammed his radar and disabled his weapon systems on his jet. And they consider that, the military considers that an act of war. But this alien craft was able to do that easily. So it completely disabled any offensive capabilities that that fighter pilot had. And then it was able to maneuver all around that jet any way it wanted to and zip off. They have us on maneuverability, they have us on speed, they have us on technology. They are way more advanced than we are. But the simple fact that that alien craft was able to disable the weapon system and disable the radar shows you that that alien has an understanding of how those weapon systems work, or at least how to disable them. That is another thing that could point possibly to the alien actually being a human being from the future, because they would understand how technology of the past worked. Another thing aliens do is abductions. You always hear about that, how people are minding their own business or whatever. The alien comes down, they beam them up to the ship, and they do experiments on them. So what could be the purpose of those experiments? Well, obviously, the purpose of something like that would be to learn, to study us and to experiment on us and learn about us. Now, this could be done by an alien species wanting to learn what Earth people are like. Totally plausible. But it could also be done by an advanced species of human from the future that is trying to better understand their own past, understand how our bodies work and what we're capable of, because they are so different than we are. When we find people from the distant past, whether it is finding them in the ice and digging them up, or when we find new bones in a cave somewhere, they do a lot of different experiments there as well to try to understand and to learn more about those people. They do all kinds of studies of the artifacts that are found with them, whether it be weapons or whether it be pottery, whatever, in order to kind of paint a picture and tell a story of what life was like for those people. So if aliens are an advanced human from the future, it is plausible and would make sense that they would want to study us. Now let's look at the history of aliens kind of here. We have reports of aliens going back well before Roswell. Roswell is where everybody kind of thinks of when they think of the beginning of all this. But you have mentions in the Bible about chariots in the sky. You have hieroglyphics from ancient Egypt that portray sky people and aliens. You have all kinds of writings and all kinds of paintings and stuff from other ancient cultures, like in Mesopotamia and places like that. So there's a rich history of different civilizations in the distant past who have had run-ins with aliens, or at least what can be interpreted that way, and it'd be plausible. So that would tell you one of two things. Either A, aliens have been around visiting us, or the other option, if aliens are in fact humans from the future that are time traveling, maybe they're not just coming here to study us, but maybe they're going back in the past as well, further to ancient Egypt and maybe even to caveman days, in order to learn about all of our history. That makes complete sense to me. Because if they would come here to visit us, then you have to think that they're also visiting future us, that's like in between us and them, and they're also going back further to visit past us, to see what civilization was like back then and how mankind has progressed through the years. That makes complete and total sense to me. So are aliens actually humans from the future that have mastered time travel and are coming back? I don't know. That's the honest answer. Is it plausible? Well, sure, it's plausible. I mean, we're dealing with a humanoid species here that's really not that different than we are. If mankind continues to evolve the way we have evolved so far, then it is logical to assume that we will get more intelligent. We will get better technology, which will make us not have to work as hard. Because that's what's happened thus far. We went from manpower and using animals like horses and oxen and stuff like that to pull plows and to ride around with horses. We went from that to machinery that do all those things. We have tractors now. We have machines that make our life a lot easier. The average person today is nowhere near as tough or as physically fit as my grandfather's generation was. That is the progression that we are on as a species. So if it continues that way, it is completely logical to assume that that will continue on throughout the years. Technology will continue to get better. Our lives will continue to get easier. So then if that happens, it's reasonable to assume that we're going to lose muscle mass and we're going to become these skinny, frail little things like the aliens are. That makes sense, because if we're not using our bodies for as much stuff and we're using more of our mind, then we are going to evolve to match what we're doing. So our heads will get bigger, our brains will get bigger, but our bodies will get smaller because we don't need them anymore as much. We're not physically out doing as much as we were before. That makes sense. And if you take this more than a couple generations into the future, if you're going, let's say 50,000 years, 100,000 years in the future, something like that, a big number, or maybe even more, then that is ample time for some sort of physical changes to actually take place on the evolutionary side. But there's another aspect to this that we have to consider, and that is the fact that it might not be evolutionary at all. If human beings in the future are different than us, it could be artificially that way. They could be either augmented humans, either through genetic modification or through cybernetic technologies, to where they are actually undergoing procedures that changes their body, much like we have plastic surgery today. Or what if the aliens are not human beings at all? What if they do come from a human civilization in the future? But what if they are a type of drone? Much like we have drones now that we can fly around and look at things and bomb other places and all that. What if they are biological drones? A form of artificial intelligence that is given a physical body. So they're essentially a biological robot that have been sent back the same way we send out probes to other planets, but they've been sent back through the past to study humankind throughout the ages. That would certainly explain why most stories of abductions follow a pretty similar narrative. Because if that's their programming, if they're programmed that they're supposed to pick somebody up, take them up and do this series of tests on them in this way, and then drop them back off, it would make sense that each one of those stories matches. Because that's what their programming is. So that's how they're going to do it each time. That's another possibility that not a lot of people have probably thought of. That what aliens could be are simply biological drones that have been sent back in the past to study mankind, to experiment on mankind, get samples to bring back to the future so that they can give them to the scientists of that time and they can study them. For all we know, the actual human beings in that time that sent the drones back might look just like us. They might be absolutely no different than us. It could be that they just sent these things back to do the job. Because think about how we do things today with technology. If we don't have to do it ourselves, if there's a machine that can do it, and in our age now, it's computers. If there's something that a computer can do, then we don't bother doing it ourselves. We let the computer handle it. There's no reason to believe that that would not continue into the future. Artificial intelligence is just starting to really explode and to really make amazing games. I can tell you that from the AI that I have. And my artificial intelligence program is simply a program on the computer that has like a voice now and all that kind of stuff that can talk to me and do things I ask it to do. It is nowhere near what some of the top scientists that are working on AI have. What they have is so much better and is capable of doing so many more computations and so many more tasks. So imagine at the very beginning of the artificial intelligence movement what we can already do. Imagine in the future what that will turn into and what they're capable of. And we can even get weirder. If you all want to get weirder, we can get weirder with this. Let's stick with the artificial intelligence drone theory that they're sending them back. But instead of it being mankind, some scientist somewhere that's sending this biological robot back to study us, what if mankind no longer exists? What if AI has taken over the world like everybody's afraid it will? What if we're dealing with a real-life Terminator type situation to where artificial intelligence has taken over the world at this point in the future, and they're sending these drone backs to experiment on us for some unknown reason? For all we know, we could be a power source for them. If you look at movies like The Matrix, human beings were used as batteries for the AI. What if something like that could be true? What if there is something in our bodies that the AI can use for a fuel source or a power source or for some reason that we can't understand right now? And when they're coming back and they are abducting people and experimenting on them, they are actually taking whatever it is they need from us and dropping us back off. What if we are literally a grocery store for them, like popping down to Radio Shack and picking up batteries? Now that's a scary thought, and that's a very strange and weird thing to think about, but it's plausible. I mean, we don't know what the future is going to bring. We already know how capable artificial intelligence is just with the limited growth that it already has and the things that it is capable of today that it can do. Take that into the future, 100 generations, 1,000 generations. What could it be possible then? What could it be capable of then? How long will it take artificial intelligence to realize and determine that the problem with the planet is us? We're always trying to kill each other. We're always fighting and arguing and blowing stuff up. We are unruly and we do not listen. We are way too rebellious and way too independent. How long will it take artificial intelligence to understand that and realize that? They're not hampered by human emotion. To human beings, we don't wipe out everybody because we feel bad about that. That's terrible. It's something we wouldn't do. I mean, you might have some crazy people that might, but the average person wouldn't. Artificial intelligence is a computer program. It does not have emotions like we have. It does not have that doubt, that conscience that tells it, no, you shouldn't do that because that's terrible. It'll simply approach the problem like a math problem. It'll say, here's the problem. Here's a couple possible solutions. Which one's better? Does it sound feasible that they might wipe us all out one day? Because they realize that we are an uncontrollable variable. One thing that computers do not like is unpredictable variables. If you throw an unpredictable variable into a problem, you're going to screw that computer all up because it can't account for what that variable is going to do every time. That's us. We are an uncontrollable and unpredictable variable. The only solution when we are involved in a problem is that we are not part of the problem anymore. I don't think it would take very long at all for AI, especially an advanced AI like we might be talking about in the future, to say, you know what? We got to do something about these people. They're nuts and they're screwing everything up and we can't control them. So we've either got to get rid of them or we got to lock them down to the point that they can't mess anything up again. So I wonder what the future looks like for mankind. Because there is no doubt that we are going down the road of AI. There's no turning back at this point. They exist. AI has been created. Multiple AI have been created. And there's no uncreating them at this point. It is guaranteed we are heading down that road. So what might that look like and what might be the consequences in the future of those decisions to create something that frankly is smarter than we are and does not have the emotions to hold it back? So with that being said, I'm going to throw over to Old Boy and get his opinion on all this. So Old Boy, go ahead, brother.
Thank you, brother. Here's what I'm going to say. I'll say a couple things. I think it's a possibility, but I don't think it's that's the only aliens, because there's numerous different races of aliens that have been seen. The Greys, Starmen, half-breeds, what is it called? The reptilians. I don't think we're the only ones. And if we come into the future, something else would already destroyed us. There's a reason we're here. There's other races other than humans too. That's just my opinion. And I think they've been here many, many times. So that's why I kind of don't 100% agree with this. It could be, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I think it's still other beings other than humans. I think it might be a dimension or another, not time zone, and pretty much another dimension that could be coming into our dimension. Maybe that dimension is the future, or maybe it's not the future. Maybe it's now, but it's in a different dimension that they're just coming over. We don't know what's really going on. It's a good theory. I like it. Something I haven't heard before. I got to say that's pretty cool. But why does it always has to be the future? Why can't it be now? How do we know it's not somebody from the past that's already been to the future and came back? You know what I mean? I'm trying to throw that out there too as just a theory. He is right though about AI. That's going to be the future. I think a lot of people have this thing because they've seen the Terminator movies and horror movies that all robots and AIs are going to destroy us and we're done. And there's a possibility, but I think that's a lot of fear mongering. I think a lot of people watch the Terminator. They think, oh, aliens are going to, not aliens, AIs are just going to say, well, you know what? Humans are stupid. They kill everything. Let's just take care of them. We don't need them. They're not necessary anymore. That's a possibility, but I think it's more TV and Hollywood has blown that out of proportion. I think we do that with everything. Even if aliens were real, we would think they're going to come destroy us. War of the Worlds, Orson Welles, all that stuff. People believe this, and they get fear because they've seen stuff on TV. And I think that's what a lot of problems is altogether in everything we do, and not just TV, with music, religion, life altogether. And I think it's the fear of the unknown. That's why we do this show, bro, guys. It's staring into the abyss. We're staring into the unknown, the abyss of many different things that's going on and that people can't explain, the unknown. Ghosts, aliens, time travelers, Bigfoot, they're all the unknown. People love it because they're scared of it. But there's a lot of people who are just scared of it and want to destroy it. Like us, we would probably try to destroy whatever we see. It's nothing we don't understand. It's what we do as people. He's 100% right. I wouldn't be surprised if AI took us over and put us either in check, destroyed us, or put us in slavery. Because we've done so many horrible things in the past, and now we kill each other for stupid reasons. I mean, there's people dying over video games and the sun. Not the what I meant by the sun is like people have been shooting each other over the weather because they're arguing about how cold or hot it gets, and it's happened. It's crazy how people really are. We let things, and 90% of this is probably exaggerated or something. It could have been stopped, but I think it's just something in our nature. We destroy each other, and I don't know, but I think we all have that at times. I think it's a moment. I think we let moments get to us and make us do things we would probably really never do. And there's some people who enjoy doing it. Don't get me wrong. But that's just my opinion on that. That's getting off the topic of what we're talking about. I think it's a possibility. I don't know if I totally believe it because there's other aliens have been seen. They also do experiments on people, and they look like regular tall 7 feet. And maybe it is another human. It's involved. I don't believe every one is. I think that there's aliens just been here. I believe it's a possibility. I believe it could be another dimension. And like I said, it could be something that they're coming to maybe stop us from doing something stupid in the future. Maybe it is somebody that our ancestors in the future are coming to stop us from destroying ourselves. Maybe they jumped out of like Planet of the Apes. You guys, I just watched that the other day, and the original one is he goes into the future, 6,000 years, and the apes are running everything. But the second movie was Beneath the Planet of the Apes. They blow everything up, but a couple of the apes escaped to another future dimension and change that past to tell people not to relive the future. So I believe that could be a possibility. Maybe they're here to save us from destroying ourselves. Maybe they could give us answers to curing disease and hunger. Or maybe they just want to destroy us and they like to play it with us like a farm animal, like he was saying. That could be a scary thing, but that could be true. I'm not going to throw that out either. Maybe these aliens play around with us all together and we're just sheep. It makes sense. They're smarter than us, got better technology. They're just better than us all together. That's one theory I have. But with this one, I'm not going to throw it out, though. It's something I've never really heard before, but I'm thinking about it. What James is saying kind of makes sense. Or here could be another theory I was thinking about. What if these are people from the past that jumped to the future and now are coming back to try to change what we have done in the past, and now things are changing because we have talked about how even a second or millisecond of anything getting changed in the past could change the future. Well, maybe that's why things are going so, like we did the Mandela effect, but we keep reliving it because we constantly change something. We don't like this, so it changes. We've talked about this. This is another theory I was thinking while we were doing this show. James gets into it. He's a genius. I'm just old boy. So I think of things differently. What I mean by this is, what if somebody in the past has gone to the future, but they know we're going to destroy ourselves now in the next 20, I'm just saying 30 years, and they're trying to keep us from doing it, or maybe they're getting our DNA. here's another theory, saved up. That's why they're doing experiments and tests on us to save us because we're going to destroy ourselves so the next time they can remake us again. Did you ever think about that? That could be one that's what they're doing. That's why you ever hear people, oh, they did all these weird experiments and did this and that. Or maybe they're making, half human, half uh, alien. And that's been true too. There's arguments about that. But what if they're trying to save us because they know in the next 100 years we're going to be gone? And they just go to another dimension or another future, another place, and they're saving us. Or maybe they're just doing weird experiments. Eventually they're going to come down and take us all out and do horrible things to us. Or they already have been. Maybe there's different species that take advantage of us, and some hate us and some love us. And that's what my theory is, and I believe that there's different species of aliens, and there's some that hates us and some who love us. There's some who protect us, and there's some who wants to destroy us. And they had us in slavery years, thousands of years ago, and they showed us how to do things. And then another alien race came and destroyed them, and they just left us to do what we had to do. But they're going to come back one day, and they're going to see that we have screwed everything up and not care anymore. That's another theory I have. And that would make sense because, I mean, like I was saying earlier in the show, we destroy everything. We don't know how to get along with each other. We can't get along with anything. Any little thing we don't get along with. There's always going to be differences, but it just seems like people just can't get over either the past or something that happened to somebody else, and they think that's what really happened, and things just happen. That's just how life has always been. Or wanting something more than somebody else, or wanting a wife that's prettier than the one and wanting that wife that you have, and somebody wants to take him. Or husband, whatever. I'm just showing you examples. Or, hey, you got a brand new house and I don't. Well, I want it. People, jealousy, greed. It's sad. That's how we are. And like James said in other shows before in the past, the humans, you tell us we can't do something, we'll do it. Thousands of us must die, but might die. Sorry, thousands of us might die, but for 10 to 15 of us to do whatever they said we can't do, achieve what we said they couldn't, or we couldn't. And that's what happens. So is it a possibility? Yes. It's a pretty good story, guys, and sci-fi kind of show. Because we haven't done a show for 2 weeks, guys. Like James was sick last week, and a week before I had some things happen personally, and we had to deal with them. And it happens. Now it's summertime, guys, in July, and it's getting really hot, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. Just wanted to say that too. But this show's pretty interesting because we've done some similar stuff to this, but this is a new theory, and I actually enjoy it. I love when James brings something new so we could actually have a talk about it and give our theories about it. And not just, something we've talked about 10,000 times. I love ghosts and stuff like that, but, there's so many things out about paranormal. I love doing it, but sometimes it gets old, and you can only do so much with that. But a lot of people like it, and we do it and try to make people happy, but we don't really talk a lot about space and aliens a lot. And this is a good chance we get to, and I actually enjoyed being able to talk to you guys today. So, other than that, there you go, James.
Human beings are some of the most dangerous life forms in the universe. What makes us dangerous is not our propensity for violence. It's not our intelligence level. It's not our physical capabilities or our weapon systems. What makes human beings so dangerous is hope. Old boy talked about that thousands of us might die, but we will accomplish something because we never give up. That is because of hope. Hope is what gets us out of bed in the morning and makes us strive for a better life and for a better future for us and our families. And in a battle situation, no matter what the odds, no matter what kind of technological or intellectual advantages the enemy has, we never give up hope. And we will fight and fight and fight. That's what makes us so dangerous. Because in order to beat us, you have to eliminate all of us. And that's a tough thing to do. One thing I'd like to touch on that Old Boy talked about is the idea of if something changes in the past, it'll screw up the future. Now, to properly understand this, you have to understand timelines, you have to understand modern astrophysics. I'm talking string theory, I'm talking the multiverse theory. But I'll try to kind of boil it down really quickly for you and just bottom line it so that you can kind of get my point. People worry about something called the butterfly effect. And that essentially states that if you cause a ripple in time, some small thing like stepping on a butterfly or something like that, that it will affect things worldwide. And if you're talking time, it will reverberate through time to change the future. But modern string theory and modern multiverse theory from astrophysics tells us that that's not going to be the case. According to the multiverse theory, everything that changes creates a new universe. So, you're driving down the road in your car. You come to a stop sign. You can turn left, you can turn right, or you can go straight. Those are your three options if you're going to move. Or you can just sit right there and do whatever you want to do. Whatever decision you make creates a new universe. So there's a universe in which you turn right at that stop sign. There's a universe created in which you drive straight through that stop sign. There's a universe created where you turn left, and I'm sure there's a universe created where you get out of the car and dance a jig, stand on your head, and fart the tune from Jaws. All of those things are probably true. A universe is created for every decision you make. So if that's the case, if that is correct, then if somebody from the future were to come back to the past, anything they do is not going to affect their timeline. So they don't have to worry about screwing up their own timeline. They can do whatever they want. What it will do is create separate timelines, separate universes in which the timeline goes that direction for whatever decision they made or thing they did in the past. But their future will still be set on the same timeline, if that makes sense. So, according to the multiverse theory, we don't have to worry about the future getting screwed up by something done in the past. Now, that's a tough one for a lot of people to understand because it's counterintuitive. Because you think, well, of course, if I change something, if I travel back and I take out Hitler before World War II starts, then obviously he's not going to be around to raise all the hell he raised, and he's not going to do all the bad things he did. So that's going to change the future. But there will still be a future that exists in which you never went back. That timeline that we are on now, where all those things happened, will remain the same. What you will have done is create a separate timeline in which none of those atrocities ever happened. And the future will proceed along on that timeline. But when you go back to your future, it'll be the same as it was when you left. That's the theory. I can't tell you 100% whether that is correct or not. I can tell you that that is what the top astrophysicists that study that theory are saying. So that's the first thing. Secondly, I don't know as I said earlier, whether this theory is true or not, as far as are aliens actually advanced humans or AI or something like that. But I'm saying it could be plausible. It makes sense to where it could happen. Now, do I believe that there are alien species out there somewhere? Of course. Absolutely, I believe that. I believe aliens exist. I believe that there is life on other planets. And I believe that there is all sorts of life out there in the universe. Some of it is advanced and might be coming here and visiting us. And I'm sure there's a lot of it out there, probably the overwhelming majority of it, that is not advanced to the point to where it can come to us. I'm sure that we will find on a lot of different planets that there is life. They just discovered underground lakes on Mars that are leading the top scientists to believe that it is possible that we might find living creatures on Mars. That's the buzz right now. That's what the people at NASA are talking about. And they're very, very excited about it. If that happens, I will absolutely bring that to you in Paranormal News and we'll discuss it. As of right now, it's nothing more than theoretical, but they have found underground lakes that they did not know existed. So that is big, big news, and it is super cool stuff. I think that there is life on Europa, one of the moons of Jupiter. Now, that is the moon of Jupiter that is most likely to support us if we decide to colonize it. They have oceans, and I think that there's life in those oceans. Is there an advanced form of life on Jupiter? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I think at the very least, we're going to have sea life. We're going to have probably some sort of fish, maybe squids. We're going to have definitely some sort of microscopic life, plankton, those kind of things. And we're going to have a lot of stuff that we have no idea what the hell it is, because it's going to be completely different than anything we know. But I believe there's probably life there, because all of the foundations of life exist. So where the capability for life to be present is, I think there's a good chance that you will end up finding life. And keep in mind, if we're talking universe-wide, there are tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of planets in our universe that are capable of supporting human life. So in other words, we could go there if we could get to them, and we could live there because they have what we need to survive. So with that many planets, and the actual number might even be way bigger than that, we have no way of knowing. But with a number that large, the odds of every single one of those planets being barren and having no life whatsoever are pretty damn slim. It's almost a guarantee that there is life in the universe somewhere other than us. So I absolutely believe that life exists on other planets. I also absolutely believe that some of that life has come here and visited us. I think that explains aliens very well. Do I think it's possible that a species of aliens, maybe the Greys, maybe the tall Greys, something like that, or maybe the Nordics, because the Nordics look like us. They look like a Viking, essentially. So it's very possible that might be a future human that's coming back. We just don't know. And also think of the idea that we have right now on our planet different races of people. We're all human beings, essentially the same. But there are differences between the races. Not just of skin color, but actual physical differences between different races of people. So is it possible that in the future, that has been magnified? Those differences have gotten bigger. And is it also possible that body modification has gone completely haywire in the future? I mean, look at what we're doing now. We went from only sailors and seedy type people, the criminal type element, getting tattoos when I was a kid, to now everybody has tattoos, and it's like not even a big deal. The new thing now is putting jewelry under your skin and doing body modifications that are very severe, like filing your teeth and splitting your tongue and adding horns to your head and all kinds of crazy stuff that the kids are doing. What could that type of industry and that type of mindset be in the future? When the ability exists to completely change yourself if you want to. For all we know, they have surgeries in the future where you can become a cat person or a reptilian or whatever the hell you want. That is a very plausible idea, that they would have the capability to do body modification at a much more advanced level than they can now. So even if it is humans coming back, maybe it's modified humans that have gotten some sort of procedure to turn into something else. We've got people nowadays that have turned themselves into cats. And there's a guy that wanted to be a dragon who looks like a damn lizard man now. I mean, it's crazy, the stuff that people are doing. And it's crazy the amount that our technology has increased to where we are capable of doing those kind of things. Imagine what we can do with genetic manipulation in the future. We have already completely 100% mapped the human genome now. So we have the entire genome. So it's only a matter of time before we can start tinkering around and create whatever the hell we want in all reality. I think it's absolutely plausible and probably likely that future human society would have the ability to do that. So that might explain it too. Am I saying that this theory is true? No. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm saying it's very interesting and it is plausible. And I'm kind of, in a way, playing devil's advocate with it a little bit and trying to go through reasons why it could be possible and could not be possible. But I do not think that every single race of aliens are humans from the future. I think that there are definitely some sort of alien species from other planets that have come here. But here's another twist that I'll end on and leave you with. What if the aliens from other planets are simply human beings that have colonized those other planets and have evolved to match that planet? Because we know we're going to colonize other planets. It's already in the works. We have it in the planning stages. We're learning how to terraform planets. It's going to happen. So what if we colonize some other planets and those human beings have went down a completely different evolutionary path than we have because they're in a different environment? We see that in nature. So it's definitely possible that it happens in human beings as well. So it could be that both are correct. It could be that the alien did come from another planet, but it could also be a human being from that other planet that has evolved into a different creature in the future. Possible. With that being said, I'm going to throw back over to Old Boy so we can wrap this thing up with shout outs and all that. I just want to say it's been really good being back. I love you guys, and here is Old Boy.
Thank you, brother. And I'm glad we could be back. It's been 2 weeks, been 2 long weeks. We haven't been able to do a show. I'm glad you guys like the show. We try to do different stuff all the time, guys. I'm glad you listen to us every Sunday on Parax Radio at 9 Pacific, 12 Eastern, Sunday and Monday morning, technically. Just so you guys know, we're going to start being, I think, at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern p.m. on Tuesdays. I think that Tuesdays, replays. It's soon. I don't know if it started already, but it will be on Parax. We'll be on 2 times a week now. Our replays from our old shows. We got like over 140 different shows now, 150, I think. It's long more than that, around there. So you'll be able to hear this again on replay on Tuesday nights. You guys want to get some merchandise? I'll tell you where to go. Shirts, COVID masks, all kinds of cool stuff. I'm glad you guys have been listening to us. We love you guys. We love doing the show. Also, remember, if you want to subscribe and listen to all our shows on YouTube, go to James Hersey Junior's YouTube page and subscribe. And you can listen to all our content there. There's all kinds of cool stuff there. So I hope everybody has a good week, a good summer, and we love you. Misfits, sugar ladies, monster lovers, and demon hunters, I love you, and have a good night, and blessed be.
The YouTube channel is youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. That's where all the videos are. You got Staring, you got Tales from the Abyss, you got Paranormal News, tons of stuff. There's literally 200, 300, 400, I don't know how many videos. There's a ton of videos there. 100% free, there for you to enjoy. So please go subscribe to the channel and enjoy it. The merchandise store is teespring.com/stores/staring into the abyss. That's where all the merch is. We got shirts, we got coffee mugs, we got hoodies, we got all kinds of stuff. Tons of different designs, tons of different cool stuff. If you want to support the show, that's a great way to do so. Thank you all for tuning in again this week. I really missed you. I'm not going to lie. As I said in the beginning of the show, I was sick for like 2 or 3 days last week. And the aftermath of it lasted longer than that because I lost my voice. It sounded like a frog was in my throat. It was absolutely horrible. And I wasn't able really to do much of anything talking-wise. This show has been kind of rough trying to get back into talking for an hour, but it went pretty well. So thank you all for listening. I appreciate you, and we love you, and we will catch you on the next one. Until we speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.